Greetings and good afternoon, everyone. Okay, yeah, we gotta wake up a little bit. I know it's been a long week and we're excited because we'll be off tomorrow, but let's wake up, okay? Welcome to Champions of Equality. We are so happy that you have joined us today for our Women's History Month panel. This is our fourth year of having it, and because of COVID, it's been virtual for the past 3 years. So I think this is our first year back being in person. So we're really happy about that. We have some wonderful panelists joining us today. They will be introduced later. I am Cade, Dean of our University Library. I'm still flying a little high from our event on yesterday. If you were here for our Patent and Trademark Research Center opening, it was a fabulous event. And we look forward to moving forward in that service. But as it relates to today, as we celebrate Women's History Month, think about women or a woman in your life who you know is resilient, a woman of strength, a woman who has served. Just get somebody in your mind. I usually, in the past, have called out figures from the university who have just done wonderful things for our institution. But today, I want you to put somebody in your mind because there are different ways to advocate. There are some of us who have loud voices, and we advocate with that loudness. And we speak up. Yeah, everyone sitting right in front. They go, that's a loud voice. Then, there are others who you may not hear, but they're doing great work with the things that they do. There are other women who have struggled, and we have gained access because of their struggles and their issues. And you may not even know their names, but they've been advocates for us to be where we are today. And so we appreciate all of that. We even appreciate the men. We know men have played a strong part in being advocates for women also. So we appreciate you too. But let's honor those women in our lives who we know about, who we can think about, who have scrubbed floors to help us get to where we are, who have risen to the ranks of representative, as Dr. Carpenter, who's here with us today, our vice president. All that makes up helps us to be where we are today. And so we appreciate all women, those with the loud voices and those who work with their hands, those who are strong, those who advocate a little smaller that we may not know about. Let's appreciate them all today as we enjoy this panel discussion of Champions of Equality, Women's Advocacy for Diversity and Inclusion, and the key word in that, in action. It takes action. So thank you for coming today, and I know I look forward to the panel, and I'm sure you do too. Thank you very much. We will now hear from Dr. Melanie Johnson, a strong advocate on this campus.
Thank you, Dr. Dean Kite, for the introduction, and I'd like to say I ditto everything she had to say. She pretty much did the welcome, but once again, I will say good afternoon to the panelists, to everyone here. Thank you for coming. And on behalf of John B. Cade Library at the Southern University, we would like to welcome you to this panel discussion today, Women's Advocacy for Diversity and Inclusion in Action. As women, we juggle so many things. We juggle our personal lives, our family, extended family lives, our work. We have so much to juggle. So today, I am so honored to say kudos to our panelists who have gone outside of the realm of doing their day-to-day work to be advocates for change. So today, just sit back, enjoy the panelists, and let's hear these remarkable stories of women who have tirelessly championed for equality, diversity, and for change. Thank you.
Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Maya Banks. I am the head of public services here at Cade Library. And it is indeed a great day today. We have been bustling with activity all day yesterday, but I'm not tired yet. That's what we do at Cade Library. We provide a safe place for information exchange. And we want to encourage the discourse. Back in the olden days, the university campus is where innovation happened. This is where things started at the university. So we are going to continue that legacy as we celebrate Women's History Month. We are reaffirming our mission of promoting knowledge, diversity, and empowerment. Our commitment to these values is unwavering. This month especially, we spotlight the remarkable contributions of the women on this panel, highlighting their work and the pathway that they paved for progress and equality. As we host this panel discussion, it's a reflection of our ongoing dedication to not only preserve history, but to actively participate in making it. We are a dynamic, living entity that thrives on the exchange of ideas, fostering a sense of community where all voices are heard and respected. It's here, within these walls, that we challenge conventions, open minds, and inspire change. Today, as we turn the pages of yet another chapter in our journey toward inclusivity and empowerment, we are reminded of the powerful role we play as a community center. And as women, we do so much. As Dr. Johnson just said, we juggle so much, but we are all, we are built for this. When I think about the things we juggle, I can't help but to be in awe of our resilience. It's Holy Thursday, but I'm not gonna preach. So they call us a weaker sex, but we do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day, and we still can't get any respect. Women have outnumbered men on college campuses since 1988. They have earned at least 1/3 of law degrees since 1980 and accounted for 1/3 of medical school students by 1990. Yet they have not moved up in positions of prominence and power in America at anywhere near the rate that they should have. In a broad range of fields, their presence in top leadership positions as equity law partners, or medical school deans, or corporate executives remains stuck at 5% to 20%. Overall, there's an enormous gap between the fortunes of small number of prominent women at the very top of their field. The gulf is widening between American women and their counterparts in other nations as well. So what do? We have discourse like this where we can learn from each other and grow. I'm somewhat of a fitness buff. My mother was a physical education teacher. So we have to stretch our muscles, that brain of ours, or it will atrophy. So we don't want our brains to atrophy, and that's why we're here today. We're gonna go on and get started and let this illustrious panel introduce themselves. We can start with Dr. Carpenter. Tell us who you are. In the case of students, you can say your name, your hometown, your major. And I will allow you to do that at this point. All right, so you have to stand because I'm tired.
I'm gonna sit for now.
Good on now. Alright, good. So, I'm gonna sit for now and stand up later. But I'm Barbara Carpenter, and I'm, Dean of International Affairs here at Southern University. Give me one that's working. There you go. This is working. So what was wrong with that? Okay. I'm Barbara Carpenter, and I'm Dean of International Affairs here at Southern University. And if you're a student, if you've done your service learning, you came through my office. But I also am the person who sends everybody all abroad for countries all over the world. But I'm also the state representative, and this is my district. I'm District 63, state representative. I have Scotlandville, which includes Southern University, the airport, the zoo, all that stuff, you name it, all the way to the river. Baker, Aliyah, and Zachary. And I have a PhD in international affairs and adult education.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Nina Donald. I am a sophomore English major, and I am also president of the Sean Cade Library Student Advisory Council, long name, but I also love the library very much. So thanks for having me.
Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from here, from Baton Rouge, homegrown. Thank you for that.
Good afternoon. My name is Carrie Landry Thomas. I am Associate Vice Chancellor for Equity, Inclusion, and Title IX over at Southern University's Law Center. I have my law degree from Southern University a while back, 2008. And what else? I'm originally from Lafayette, but I met my husband, some of you may know him, Dr. Carlos Thomas, over here. Met him 20 years ago at LSU, and here, right? So I am, it's a pleasure to be here and to engage in this conversation. And I welcome questions and engagement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Stevens, and currently I serve as the Association for Women Students President. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana, and I am currently a senior in the Therapeutic Recreation Department. And I will be graduating. So I'm really excited to have the opportunity to speak to you guys today.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kennedy Orr. I'm a junior agricultural business major here at Southern University, and I currently serve as the Student Government Association Vice President and the newly elected Student Government Association President. And thank y'all. And I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, so a long way from home, but Louisiana has truly been a second home.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jordan Williams, a senior majoring in animal science from Madison, Mississippi, and I currently serve as 93rd with Southern University Agricultural and Chemical College. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, everyone. I bring you greetings from Louisiana State University. My name is Dr. Monica Dent. I serve as the Associate Vice President for Institutional Engagement and Partnership within the Division of Engagement, Civil Rights, and Title IX. A lot of words on the only Monica Dent. I am originally from Dallas, Texas, but moved here shortly after turning 18 to go to Xavier University of Louisiana. And then fell in love with somebody from Louisiana, so I'm here. I'm still here. So this is my second home that's welcomed me, and I'm happy to be here with all of you today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vanessa LaFleur, State Representative, District 101, adjunct professor at Southern University Law School, double graduate of Southern University Law School, and I have to take a moment. Welcome back, Beta Psi. Spring 1988. Good to see y'all. Good to be here. Good afternoon. I am Charmaine Williams. I serve as the Director of the Executive PhD Program in Public Policy. I also did my dissertation research on gender equality in regards to women in their congressional positions. So I look forward to the conversation and to engaging with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, so much for introducing yourselves. I'm gonna just dive right in. I'm gonna ask the audience to silence their cell phones if they have them.
Tell that I don't have webcam.
And we're gonna start with our students so that we can get them involved in the conversation.
I don't
This
have
is
the
Women's
webcam.
History Month, so I just wanna ask, Ms. Donald, Nina Donald, why do you think it's important to celebrate Women's History?
I can use my Mac. I can use my Mac, but I don't have the
Thank you. Why I feel it's important to celebrate Women's History Month, I always believe in the motto that if you forget about your history, you forget about where you come from. You forget about your why. I believe women's history is important, and it's important to remember about the history because not only does it give myself as a young lady and many other young ladies on campus purpose, the reason, the drive, standing on the backs of giants, seeing women leaders, role models from history. Without remembering that history, without having that history, it takes a lot out of the why for many young ladies like myself.
You can let, Gabrielle.
Okay, so I would have to say, women play a big role in everyone's lives, and it's not recognized as much as it needs to be. Women taking over and getting in these positions that we are in allows us to advocate what we believe in. A lot of times we are not given the choice and allow men to make these decisions for us. So Women's Month is really important. It allows us to show what we are capable of and our voices. So
Women's history, it stems very deeply, and I feel like there are so many stories that are probably untold. But we have so many stories that have been told and are so impactful on young women and older women. And I hope that we continue to rewrite history for women, that we continue to move forward instead of regressing the way that we have been in these past few years. And also, it's important that we teach our history to those that come after us because, I have two younger siblings or two younger sisters, sorry, and I want them to know that, we have come a long way, but we have so much further to go, and I hope that they contribute to the progress that we make in society.
I feel that it's very important to acknowledge the women that came before us because they paid for their here. We wouldn't be here without them. And kind of piggybacking off Ms. Donald with her motto, you may have heard where people say that you must learn your history so you don't repeat it. We are seeing in live time our rights being taken away from us as women. So it's important for us to be knowledgeable of our past and what the people have done for us to get here.
Thank you, ladies, for your responses. When I think about Women's History Month, I think about the university's history and how we've only had 2 female presidents and Dr. Dolores Spikes. This is a day we can remember her.
Recording in progress.
Freeman. So I was listening to Jacqueline Shorter yesterday, and she was saying, we're still saying we're the only or the first in many areas of society. We should not still be saying we're the only or the first. So that is why it's important for us to empower ourselves because no one will do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And being a student of public policy that I am, we know that the way that we make change is through policy and legislation. And that is why I'm glad to have Dr. Barbara Carpenter here, as well as Representative LaFleur. And I just want Dr. Carpenter, if she would give us a temperature of what DEI looks like in the state right now.
Well,
As briefly as you can.
well, let me just say this. The teacher always has to pull stuff Yes, I just want to be clear. The teacher in me always has to pull stuff together from what we're going through
I can only
currently
share screen if
in
there is
the
some presentation.
legislature. And so,
I can only share screen if there is some presentation.
I'm gonna start with the fact that having graduated from Southern
It only shares.
with the BS and the master's degree, and I went on to Kansas State to get the PhD. Little did I ever realize that I would be in the position that I'm in today. Because it was not something that I would wake up every morning and say, this is what I'm gonna be. Nor was it anything on my bucket list of things to do. But when the time comes and the opportunity comes, you take advantage of it. And so I'm the oldest person here, probably the oldest person in the room. But I have some friends here who've been here just as long as I have, and they're just as old as I am. And so I think we look damn good. Where we are. Am I right, Emma? So, as you go along, you first of all establish friends. And those friends are the ones who, the real friends, are the ones who stay with you throughout your life. And they work with you through this mentoring process. Because you have to have, there's always been men who have mentored us to get us where we are. Because as Amaya said, we've only had two women presidents, one real president, which was Dolores Spikes, and the other one, Cassie Freeman, kind of came on after the fact for a minute, but that was quite by accident. So everything has been a struggle for women, not only in life, but even at this university. It's been a struggle, and it's still a struggle and a fight. There's always a struggle for equal pay, always a struggle for positions. You can't ever get where you need to go because there's some man blocking you, and you got to step on him to get where you get to go. So I'm one who doesn't mind stepping on you to get where I get to go. My world is that if there's a brick wall and you want to get on the other side of the wall, you might dig a hole and go under, you might punch a hole and go in the middle, or you might climb over the top. But the ultimate objective is to get over on the other side of the wall. And you do what it takes to get you there. Get a good education, get a good mindset, and know where you need to go. On the other hand, when you get there, you reach back and you take someone else to help you get where you need to go. So here we go down at the state capitol. I came in, I'm in my last term, by the way, came in 2015. There were not a lot of women and very few Black women. Very few women still look like me and Vanessa LaFleur, Representative LaFleur. When I first went into the state capitol, surprisingly enough, there were two restrooms. If you've ever been down to the state capitol in the chamber, there are two restrooms, one on each side of like an anteroom, which is a break room. Well, both of them were for men. How about that? Then there was one man, representative, who was in a wheelchair. He used the bigger restroom because he was in a wheelchair. So I said, well, where's the room for women? There was none. We had to walk outside and use the restroom where the visitors all came in. So there were 5 women, and we said, we're not having this. So we put a sign on the door, the bigger one that said women over handicap, right? And
Can you
then every time we, put it up there and take it down. Put it up there and take it down. So one was pregnant. And she's been pregnant every session. We've had 3 sessions, 3 years, 3 whatever. She has had a baby every year. But she was the youngest. And she was in her childbearing years. And if you've ever been pregnant, you know what it's like to be pregnant and use the restroom. When you gotta go, you gotta go. She was waiting to go in the restroom, and this man just jumped right in front of her and went on in. We said we didn't have enough. So we decided to go to the governor to get this straight. We said, we have to have a restroom. So finally they said the women get their restroom. That's how we got the women's bathroom in the chamber. And I'm thinking, this is 2016 now, and we can't get our own bathroom to go pee. This is too much. Because sometimes you have to step up, make a statement, and stick to it. So all the women carried on with us, and we got it straight. So now there are more. Vanessa can probably give you more statistics than I, because I don't even worry about keeping up with it. We just do what we have to do. When the floor comes in, she and her group, I had a very good mentor. I don't know if you remember Representative Pat Smith. She was wonderful. When I came into the legislature, she said, let me take you around. Let me show you where all the bathrooms are. Let me show you where you need to go to do this. She was wonderful. So I took it upon myself to be a mentor for those who came in after me. And so that is how you make things happen. That is how you grow people who look like us and bring about change. I decided, if you will, pull a few notes. There are some issues that women are concerned about if they plan to go up the ladder. You gotta look for equal pay. Gotta look for affordable child care. Men ain't really worried about the child care. They gonna leave it to the wife to figure that out. So she can't go nowhere because she got to stay home with the baby. But we got to find affordable child care. We gotta look for economic development opportunities because we want a job too. We want a check just like the men do. And you gotta look for health care and domestic violence has to stop. So those are the issues that I'm most concerned about, and we'll talk about it even further. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about it.
Sir LaFleur, you have been such an advocate for affordable learning and friend to the libraries. Can you tell us about your legislation and things that you're doing for equity?
Sure. Last session, I was able to, this is 24, so last session was an odd year, which meant that we were handling the money, right? Taxes and all those sorts of things. So we're limited in the number of bills that we can file. So we were limited to 5. So I did my 5. I want to talk about one and talk about the DEI situation also. But one of the bills I filed was to make textbooks affordable and how online textbooks. Something is in that group that we're working with higher ed officials and librarians. When I tell you it was a fight, because the people that sell and fill up libraries and sell textbooks, they make a lot of money off of you. And what they don't want is for you to get free access. But we fought on the floor, fought in the Senate, had good friends. That lesson about who you choose to be your mentor and who chooses you is very important because it helps you get things done. So, and we have to do that because honestly, the voters failed us this past election cycle. You say that, well, because you did, and not the people here, but the voters did. Now we have to deal with a supermajority in the House, a supermajority in the Senate, and a governor who is not kind to any one of us in this room. So we're fighting. but we are fighting. I do want to say, when you say DEI, when you say diversity, equity, and inclusion at the Capitol, it's a bad word.
Yes.
It's not a bad word for us. It's a bad word for them. It is the new code word for the N word. And if you haven't picked up on that, realize that. The upside is that in those political spaces, Dr. Carpenter can attest, that's where it's the bad word. In spaces that are controlled by politicians, the people that you elect to be your voice in these other spaces, bad word. But it's not a bad word in corporate America. Why? Because they understand the value that diversity brings to the workplace.
Yes.
So we have to start, and when people ask me, what can we do to make DEI better in Louisiana? My answer is always the automatic answer, Dr. Carpenter, elect more women. We're smarter. Sorry, Doc. But elect more women to fill the spaces that make decisions that matter to your families. And you've got to understand that the work that we do is human rights work. DEI, gender equality, is a basic human right. It's not a government handout. It's not, affirmative action. To have access to be in these spaces and sit at these tables are basic human rights. We've earned them just by birth. Just like they earned everything they have just by birth. I want to speak to Dr. Carpenter. Dr. Carpenter was chair of the Labor Committee last session. It's an awful committee, not because Dr. Carpenter was there, but because they put on that committee for her to have to deal with. And last session, I bought the equal pay bill. Tried to disguise it, y'all, but it was equal pay. I was calling all kinds of things. But it's still, in the end, it was equal pay. It allowed us to sit at the table and ask, what are you paying this person? Well, I'm going to submit an application here. Tell me what you're paying, who's applying, so that I can know the playing field. Because that's all equal pay does, right? The playing field means, doesn't matter what you look like, what your body looks like. I'm going to pay you what you are worth, right? So Dr. Carpenter, chair of labor, we bring in a bill we know we're not going to win on. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you bring the fight anyway, right? And Dr. Carpenter can attest. I walked in there getting ready to give my bill, and the others, because you get others at the Capitol, said to me, Lobby has red carded your bill, and you're still going to bring it. You still going to make us vote. Oh, the red card means you're against the bill. And so Louisiana Association of Business and Industry is against equal pay in the state of Louisiana. Did you hear me? Thank you. Against equal pay in Louisiana. They red carded the bill. When Lobby red cards a bill at the Capitol, it's dead on arrival. Some people don't take the fight to the bench. Dr. Carpenter was chair, so I knew I had to take my fight to the bench. I wanted them on the record in the election year, hoping that voters would see who voted against equal pay for women, and that would inform their decisions. But they stayed home. The bill got a great hearing, thanks to our chair.
She was wonderful.
Great hearing, great facts, great testimony. Red card from Lobby up until I was closing on my bill. The others were still asking me not to take a vote. My chair says to me openly and on the mic, do you want to vote on this? My response was yes. I wanted to say hell yeah. But decorum. We took that vote. And it was an easy vote for some of us. A hard vote for the majority. It did not get out of committee. I don't feel defeated because I got you on the record. And because we are in the situation that we are in currently in the Louisiana State Legislature, I told you, supermajorities. They got the fourth floor, that's where the government is. All we can do is make records. So when you see us fighting battles we know we're going to lose, we are creating a record. Because half the stuff they're doing down there is unconstitutional. And the one thing we can do is build a record for our lawyers. Because we are a litigious group in the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus. We are so litigious, we made sure you got a second congressional district. That's the work of the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus. We are currently awaiting a court decision on the House and a court decision on the Senate. We're fighting for 3 additional senators, and is it 6 or 7 additional House members that look like us? They call that DEI. They want to wrap everything up in DEI and make DEI a bad word. You have to change that narrative. Because all DEI does and all its intent is to equal the playing field. It is to take away that there's a black woman, a white woman, a white male, a black male. At some point, this is 2024, and we're fighting the battles they fought in 1964. And we're gonna keep fighting those same battles. I want you, as a assignment, is to go back and look at newspapers from 64, and look at newspapers from 2024. And if you can see a difference, call your rep. If the headlines are different, if the intent is different, call us and tell us we're wrong. Because we've done it. We're in there in the fight every day. And we need y'all. We told you we threw up the hat during the election cycle. We threw it back. We can't do that anymore. So I'm deputizing everybody in this room to make people vote. There you go.
All right. Thank you so much for fighting for us. We're glad to have you at the policy-making level doing that. I think it's a good segue into Dr. Charmaine Williams' dissertation research. She can give us some insight since it deals with congressional seats.
Thank you. So a lot of what my study looked at is exactly what we have discussed here on this table. So we talk about in my study why it's important to have women at the table, why it is quintessential that women are a part of the conversation. Because if they are not, guess what? They have no voice, they have no opportunities, there is no options for everybody. When women come to the playing field, just like Rep said here, you absolutely get better options for a family. You get better options for healthcare because women, we all know, we're the problem solvers. When you put men in charge, you get what we have now, total chaos. Women are problem solvers. Women walk into the room, they see the situation, they can dissect it, and it's easy for them to be able to figure out how best to manage it, to minimize that situation so that it doesn't get completely out of hand. And this story of what's going on back to 64, it began way before this. It began at the inception of this country. From when the 39 white framers began with this country, long time ago. And they began bringing over this British rule. And with this British rule, they brought in all these patriarchal ideas. So women went to work and they brought their money home and the husband managed it. Or if they went to work, and in most cases they didn't go to work. They were at home and they were just there to care for the kids and take care of the house. They had no voice, no say. So if you went to work, your husband picked up the check, managed the money. If you made a mistake and had a daughter first, that poor girl caught hell because she wasn't anything. Because if you had a daughter and the son, or a daughter and the son ranks higher than that young lady. So that young lady was basically put aside and waited until she was gifted to someone else, because she was assigned a spouse. So she had no rights. The son that was younger was left all that family estate as the overseer of the family. So he ranked higher than her. And so when I did my study, and I looked back at all that stuff, I said, oh my God, this is ridiculous. What has happened to women all these years? I mean, you go all the way back to John Adams and Abigail, and I know a lot of times we want to talk about them. Abigail, she wrote the letter. Please remember the women. Remember the women. She begged her husband to remember the women, and just because by their sacrifices of supporting their male counterparts, they should have been able to be a part of the decision and be included in the conversation, not just eliminated at all in the process. And so today, we sit down and everybody's saying, oh, it's so great to see so many women elected to these positions. We are still severely underrepresented congressionally on every level, national and locally in the state, and Louisiana suffers more than most states. And we do because number one, just like we said previously, the Equal Rights Act never passed here. Several states have passed it. I believe it's 14 to date that have not passed, and we are one of those 14 that do not believe that women deserve the same rights, the same pay. And it's because of the issues that both of our elected officials have listed here today. So my paper talked about all of those things, and it really went deep into that conversation. I won't reiterate a lot of that just because it will get into statistics and numbers, and I want to make sure the conversation steps away from that. But I want everybody to understand one thing, that it is important to stand up, raise your voice, and don't be afraid to be that person to speak your mind and share your ideas. Be at that table, join the conversation, go out and vote and support your women leaders that are there. And one thing that I have to say that I know I may get slapped for is the worst thing is when women are in the space together and they do not unify, because that is a huge problem we have too. We have women that when they rise to power, they forget their sister as opposed to bringing her along. Mentor her, bring her with you. Make sure that she's in that space too, and that she has the opportunity to continue to grow. Because men, they're gonna bring each other along. If they have to cover it up, they're gonna bring them along. And so if we want to continue to multiply and build, we have to work together. And just like Dr. Carpenter said, we need to have some allies, work together. Don't work against each other. Work together. It's so important.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I want to bring on Dr. Leonard to get into the conversation. Can you share with us some of the work that you do at LSU and how you're implementing the strategies?
Sure. So I'm a graduate of LSU, and so my work looks at Black women faculty members and how they matriculate through tenure track. And some of the reasons why we think what we build in our systems when we say we want to support equity, inclusion, and gender parity, not always working, right? Because typically the people who are building it don't look like the people who are the end user. And so that informs how I do my work. So if you all weren't here before, my title is Institutional Engagement and Partnerships. And so the goal in my mind, in my practice, so I do organizational development, have some psychology background, is trying to understand how do we move from organizational interventions to actualized change, right? And so the work that I do looks at how do we partner with those corporations, right? Who have said very much so, we need people that look like everyone in this room. How do we get them? Partner with institutions that look at education as one of the fulcrums, right? For social mobility and things like that. And how do we take that, leverage those shared goals, right? And work for our students, right? So that's the work that I do very, very broadly. Ask me what I do day to day. It changes, but I'm sure each of you can say that. Is there anything you'd like me to speak to?
No, you can just share with us some strategies that.
Sure. Well, one of my strategies is go where they are. I think very often people are like, we build it and they'll come. And that is not something that works, right? Because oftentimes the people building it don't necessarily ask the people they want to come. Some of the strategies that I've used in working at PWIs is partnering with HBCUs. If you did not hear, I graduated from an HBCU, and so I know what they create, right? And so I always say go there. The other piece is empowering women. And so I heard you say, I don't want to get to the statistics and storytelling, but being able to vacillate between both the quantitative and the qualitative storytelling is critical when you want to do this work. Why? Because some people need their hearts to be moved, right? To make any change. Some people don't really care, right? They're just like, how is this affecting my bottom line? And so I have the privilege of doing both of those things. I'm allowed to capture the story of those who have moved forward in exceptional ways, as well as the statistics of making high impact interventions, whether that's bringing in a Shell and an Exxon to do some type of training, or working with women who want to be engineers, or bringing women like those on the panel to empower. The one thing I always caution individuals to do is don't think that you can paint with a broad brush to get this work done, right? And don't think that lip service is going to change anything, right? Lip service might bring people in the room who aren't traditionally in the room, but they will not stay, right? And so when we think about women,
we were talking about like them entering into the workforce. If you look at workforce, if you look even in education, right? Women sit in a lot of spaces and places, but usually they're concentrated. There's high density in certain places, right? Why is that? Some of that is because we're socialized to make change in particular ways, right? To educate, to nurture, to do those things. And others is that society tells us that we're not allowed to go to certain places. And so in some of the work that I do, and this is my professional philosophy as well as my personal philosophy, so I'm not speaking on behalf of LSU when I say this, some of the things that we have to do is we have to talk to them sooner. I can't talk to someone and bring in a big corporation at age 21 and say, you can make this change. Well, they haven't taken the classes to get there, right? And so some of the work in terms of the institutional partnership I get to do is realizing that having conversations with people earlier in the educational pipeline will allow us to make those changes. Because what's the narrative we have about women in executive positions? There aren't any, right? Well, I'm looking at quite a few people who are qualified to do those things, right? And so as someone who is a Black woman who has an advanced degree, it's really interesting to me when people say that. So I'm trying to change that narrative. Other things is you have to find people who have the power you don't have. Part of the way I got invited here, I don't know the whole story or narrative, but I've heard a few people say, I know your name, is with Donovan Segura, right? Donovan Segura invited me here, invited me to his classroom as we partnered to do work. Previously, I worked in the College of Agriculture as the AVP for diversity, inclusion, and opportunity. And so we got to be contemporaries, right? But he allowed me to be who I was, but leveraged his power to make changes in places and spaces that I couldn't. And so when we think about institutional partnerships and as we think about the current system we live in, unfortunately, it is not a system that says we make change because kumbaya, we want to hold hands and feel nice about things. We change it because of power dynamics, we change it because of economics, and we change it because it's going to positively affect me. In the interpersonal or like the public speaking space, we always talk about what's the whip 'em, what's in it for me. And part of my job is to find the whip 'em for everyone else to get them to do what I need them to do to make changes for my nieces, my nephews, and people who look like me. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Landry, you wanna join the conversation and let us know about your DEI work?
Well, that's interesting. So my DEI work really got started because the American Bar Association changed the regulations for law schools and required, ABA 303 required all law schools around the country to put in place some type of DEI cultural competency trainings for all students leaving out of law school, which is imperative and it's great and it's wonderful. And of course, now we have all this pushback about the ABA. Florida has changed all of their rules, and I think they were even suing the ABA. So it's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Now the ABA is kind of walking back some of the powerful statements they had just 2 years ago where they were pushing all the law schools to do this. But it's still in place. That is how I got into my particular role. So the role, as well as the standard, is well written, it's great on paper, but there was really no framework for it. So the first year I began, that role was in 21. And so the framework, which I was comfortable with at first, was I would say a low-level programming, we're finding our way, what does this all mean? How do we set this up? Which I was fine with in the first year. After the first year, I felt as if we needed to move from a programming, kumbaya, let's talk about a framework, to a framework of action. What policies are we going to implement? How are we going to change the role that our faculty, how are we getting faculty in that look very diverse? And the Law Center has a very diverse faculty, but there are still some gaps, okay? I'm not gonna get all in our business, but we still have some gaps, right? We also have gaps when it comes to our staff members. And one of the big issues that I've always had is we have a largely Black female staff. And the truth of the matter is that they are not as well paid as some people who are above, right? And so I would always present policies and processes to consider, like how can we make their jobs better? Because that's, to me, that's real DEI. Like, what can we implement that would make the staff, the largely Black female staff that we have, how can we show them that they are valued? What are some ideas that we can come up with? So I put proposals together, and my chancellor, now you guys is chancellor, I will say he is amazing. He really is. Congratulations. I'm a bit sour about that, but congratulations. For his part, he really did listen to a lot of the proposals
push to do more actionable things, to do concrete policies and procedures where DEI is where I would like to house this whole DEI experience. I submit that in the next month or so, my title will likely change. But I don't care. I was like, I don't care if you call me compliant. I don't care what you call me, to be honest. I think, and I wrote a law review article about this. I don't care what the work is called. You don't have to call it DEI. That's all I care about. What I want is for us to do the work, right? So DEI, what it really is, should be, the tentacles should be spread out into everything that we do. How are we evaluating the students that we bring in? How are we in a holistic approach? Are we being intentional about equity and inclusion? And that can mean a whole bunch of things. But from my point of view, it's just a holistic view of the people that we're trying to bring in. How are we hiring? What does our faculty look like? Are we looking at faculty that meet the needs of the student body that we are serving? So all of these questions that I think that, again, I don't care what we call it. I don't care what my title is. I care that we're actually doing the work and making the changes that we need. So that's where I house my perspective, my framework. And something else I wanted to mention. I think a lot of people, Dr. Carpenter mentioned it about, you know, looking at the university, Southern University as a whole, and the disappointment that we've only had, I'll say 1.5, 1.5, because she's right, the 1.5 woman leading institutions. And I don't really know what it takes for us to really engage with that, but I do think moving forward, there should be a real strong conversation about really being intentional about looking at the broad range of wonderful candidates who are women all across this country who can be viable options, because I do believe that women do have a different way of governing and leading, and that is okay, and it's needed, and I think it should be appreciated, and I really do want to put that out to all, you know, the waymakers here, that we do need to really be pushing for a holistic view when it comes time to look at how we want to lead the institution into the 21st century.
Thank you so much. Let's try to wrap up and be mindful of your time. So let's try to end on a good note. I'm going to pose the question to all of the panelists. We can do a final wrap up. So tell us, who are some of your sheroes and why? And we'll end on an inspirational kind of note. Try to draw inspiration from each other.
Well, first of all, I'm impressed with these young women here. I am thoroughly impressed, and you should be too, because truly it's a new day and something. And so, as one who's on the far end of my life here, it's time to see this. And I look forward to more from them. I really do. Because Southern has come a long way. But I want to say there are 3 things to me that we need to take away, in my view. First of all, if you want to make change, you first of all got to vote.
All right.
It is impressive to see less than 20% of us going out to vote. That's ridiculous. And so as you prepare for other elections coming up, you gotta get out there and vote. You gotta beat the streets. Whatever it takes, you gotta pick up mama, grandma, everybody, and take them to the polls if they don't go on their own. You gotta go vote. You have to have more women running for office. There are a lot of smart women here in this town and in this state. You got some sitting right up here. Push these young people out. They need money to support them. I can tell you this, in any campaign, if you've got a man and a woman
running for the same position, I guarantee you the man will raise far more money than a woman. Why is that? It's because you don't think a woman can do it. So you have to support her. The other thing that I'm listening at her research, don't forget the slave mentality. You know how we got here. Look at us. We all look like we had some mixture somewhere in the pot. And so back from slavery, the black woman was the lowest on the totem pole. She's still the lowest on the totem pole. The top of the string is the white man, then a white woman, then a black man, and then here you got us sisters. We're the lowest paid, the last thought of. That's got to change. The other thing too, look around here on campus. When I come on campus, I'm looking at us. Let's look presentable.
Thank you.
Represent us better. Talk to the women and the young women. These young women look wonderful, but that's not the norm. Look at how we look. So how you represent yourself is what people see of you. So those are some takeaways, and I think these are some things we need to work on. Thank you.
So when asked about my sheroes, I would say definitely as a young lady coming into womanhood and also being a young lady on a college campus, I find my mentors everywhere. I will literally walk into an office building, somebody asks me, am I lost? No, I'm not lost, but my name is Nina Donald. Nice to meet you. I did the same thing with Dr. Dean Kite, and with you now I'm the president of the council. So I find my sheroes everywhere. Dr. Dean Kite being for one, Miss Eli in the back. I'm always in our office. But I also find my sheroes in my peers, like for instance, Madam Vice President Kenny Orr, elected President Kenny Orr, and of course, yes, and of course, seeing so many young ladies that are my age, close to my age, being in powerful leadership positions on this campus, they constitute of my sheroes, and also the women in my family, seeing the way that how they carry themselves, their belief in God. I don't just particularly put sheroes to women of the past. I put it to the women I see in my everyday life.
That's a good one. So my sheroes, I tend to revere the elders, ancestors. I do revere people in the past. I do, sometimes I sit and try to place myself in what it must have been like for the women before us, the quiet ones, like not even the ones, I mean, I had a whole list of names, like, oh my goodness, Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer, like all of these names, and I said, what about the quiet ones, the ones, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers that worked and were not able to get degrees and, come to Southern, some did, but the ones before that led the way for us, those quiet voices that built us all up to be where we are. And so I often do go back to the past because I think about how much harder it had to be for those great-grandparents, those elders, those ancestors that paved the way for us to be here. And so I would my point of view, I know you reference, sometimes walking the campus and seeing just the change in the culture, maybe with the way young people are dressed today. And I know for me, I sit back and I see people in my work room. That's respectability politics. It is. If I can put it out there, it is, and that's okay. When you think about your elders and everything they did to get you here, whatever that was, there is a place for respectability. All right, there's a place for it because it's honoring and it's respecting and it's revering, and that So I know I went a long way, but my sheroes really tend to be the women in my family, the elders, the ancestors that came before me, and seeing all these beautiful women moving into our future. I value all of that too.
Okay, I would like to begin. I am a first generation college student. So coming here, I seek mentorship, and one of them was here. Miss Montgomery played a really big factor in that. Since I first got here at Southern, and she's currently the advisor for my organization that I serve right now as president for the Association for Women Students. So seeking the mentorship from the elder and getting the wisdom from them, I feel like they have already experienced some of the things that we were looking for. And to go back on what you said about the females walking around here on campus, that is one of the initiatives that we focused on. And we've had multiple events to focus on trying to get them to change the things. We have had what not to wear and what to wear to show them like, hey, this is a college campus and these are the opportunities that you can get here. And I think sometimes we kind of forget that. But that comes from the people that are more the upper classes to show the freshmen that this is the correct way to go ahead and do this. COVID kind of messed everything up because they do not know, and they don't know until we tell them as students. But we have been, I want to say we have been going there and trying to connect with the students, not only to vote, but also to show them this is the correct way to maneuver around the university, to also be mentors to them as well. And I want to go ahead and congratulate not only my roomie, but my line sister as well for now being our next SGA president. I feel that is important. We do have women that are trying to get in these positions. I feel that going back to not the Louisiana, because I have been in I worked I was a Lamar Governor's Fellow, so I was able to see those things. I actually worked on a bill that Representative Amy Freeman, I went ahead and did something with that. We are working here on this campus. I feel that it's not seen as much, but we do have some of the females on this campus that's fighting for different things around here. So.
I mean, it's surrounded by so many heroes, of course, on this campus. From deans to associate deans to professors to my lovely advisor, Dr. Walker, for bringing back data science to this lovely university. Our councilwomen, different women that have done research, and of course, my line sisters, our beautiful Miss Southern here, our beautiful president for Association for Women Students. So, been surrounded by amazing heroes coming onto this campus, but I have to say, my mama, that is my heart, that is my best friend, and she really helped me get through those elections because it was not easy, as you mentioned before. Not only running for a male-dominated position on this campus, but running against a male on this campus was not easy. But I had the support of so many women on this campus that defended me when I couldn't speak for myself. I saw one comment that was like, how are we gonna have a female president? What if she's on her period and she gets mad and does something crazy? And I'm like, what? So those types of stereotypes as a woman, like, right, like, but men be out here creating wars. Oh, women, right? So just, it was a lot. It was not easy, but my mama was there every step of the way to just encourage me and to remind me that, because I was like nervous, like I was like, I'm gonna stay away from the whole gender thing. Like I didn't want to talk about me being a female at all because I know that once you make mention of the difference between the two candidates gender-wise, it turns into a gender war. And that's when the stereotypes start coming in and the microaggressions and, those comments that were made. And it's just like, I don't want people to elect me because, we haven't had a female president in 8 years. I didn't want that to be the narrative. It just so happened that it was. It just so happened that I got elected on National Women's Day, but that's just that was written by God, so I'm not gonna question it. But it just, it's sad that we have to even do that when we're running for this positions, because we do have the female dominated positions. They were saying, why do we have a Miss Southern and not a Mr. Southern? And it was just like, well, why are y'all, it's the whole gender things has become so silly to me. And it should just be about electing people that really want to make change, people that want to put in the work, the people that don't just want to be seen, but also be in that office all day and all night getting the work done. So I just, I really appreciate being other young ladies' inspiration on this campus, but I hope that they know that they are mine too.
As far as heroes, one obvious one have to be my mother. A few of you guys have met her before, and I call her my momager because she literally is my manager. She's pushed me ever since I was a little girl. I used to be scared to do so many things, and she was always my number one fan to let me know that you can do it. I believe in you, and through her successes and even failures, she's really taught me on how to get where I am now, and I just appreciate her so much. Secondly, would have to be my grandmother, who's very prominent at Southern University. You may know her, Dr. Sandra Williams. She worked in the ag department and she created the Bayou program in the ag department. And honestly, she's always been an inspiration to me. Being one of her she has many siblings, and being only one that is a doctor and having to basically carry her entire family on top of her back. She's always been an inspiration, and I always look up to her every single day. And lastly, it took a while for me to get to this point, but honestly, I consider myself a hero. Ever since I was a little girl, I never had the confidence. I never would have even seen myself in a position like this, coming up in a predominantly white environment, school, even in ballet, all the extracurricular activities that I had. I was always the only Black girl, so I had no one to look up to. So being in a position that I am in now, I try to be the role model for young Black girls, focus on the younger generation because they need to see Black women in positions like this so they can get inspired and do the same, and we can continue this cycle of bringing more Black leaders. So one of the initiatives that I did is I created the first Adopt a Senior for the homecoming season, where we basically reached out to young Black girls in the Baton Rouge area that were seniors. They're trying to get to college. We helped them apply to Southern University, and we provided everything for them for their homecoming dance, from hair to nails to the dress, and even supported them with transportation to and from, and we also gave them a big gift basket. So, I always just want to support the younger generation and be the role model for them and let them know that they can do anything they want to do. They don't have to always be in these big positions to do it. You can do it as just a regular student. So I just always try to be that person for them and be the hero that they want to see for the young Black girl.
If I had to identify a hero, I mission failed. I cannot, because I get to be in a community of wonderful women for my entire life. And so I'd echo you all and say my mother, my grandmother. My grandmother was the first person in my family to go to college, went to PV. I'm from Texas, and became a nurse. And I remember going to work with her, and she was the lead of the geriatric department. I didn't know that was a big deal until I got older. And I said, wait, that wasn't supposed to work like that. And I remember her coming back and complaining, and she never talked about race or gender, but in retrospect, when I look back, I know that's what that was. So I appreciate her, and I appreciate all of my ancestors, especially the women, because I know that my life is their answered prayers, because I didn't do anything to deserve some of the gifts that I have in my life. The other person that I've been following her, Carla Harris gives really great advice. If you don't know her, you should look her up. She is a Black woman who was on Wall Street. She's also a gospel artist, and she allows me to see that I can be a lot of things to a lot of people and still be fully myself. And so she also helped me negotiate my career a little bit when I did not know anyone, because I was in upstate New York to look to figure out how to get out of here and do something different. And then the last piece I would say to potentially look up, it sounds like you already do, it's called a friendor. You build these circles of your friend mentors, and at certain periods of times, your friend is your mentor, because you're calling them to look at that email to ask you to negotiate something, or even, is what he did, am I crazy? To see, all of those things, right? Because we're negotiating real things. I remember going to New York and having to call one of my mentors, my dissertation advisor, saying, yeah, I'm in love, but I want this job. How do I do both? Right? And that's a real thing, especially for women trying to make decisions about their life. And so I thank all of you, because I know you all are mentors of someone who does, you don't know their name, but they know yours. Like I remember Miss Welch, my first Black teacher, she taught me math, right? And I remember other professors when I was at Xavier. So thank all of you, but I also thank my mentors.
So I'm going to name, I just did a panel last night, so I had them written down, and one of the issues was mentoring and how important mentorship is. Mentoring, and mentorship is all powerful. While I was at Southern, my biggest cheerleader, my biggest mentor was the person that when I couldn't afford tuition, she'd send me to see Donald at the back of the campus, was Dr. Beverly Dixon Lacey. And that's another assignment. If you do not know who she is and who she was to this campus, do the research and find out. Trailblazer. And career-wise, I started my career over here at the law school because they were paying good. Straight out of law school, I took a little job that they had over there. And I intended on taking that money and enjoying that time over there for the rest of my career. But one day, one of my mentors, and this is another assignment, look her up if you don't know her, because the reason why the judiciary in Louisiana looks the way it looks is because of Judge Janice Clark. Yes. Judge Clark called me one day, y'all, I was making good money over there, to tell me that she wanted me to go apply for a job at a state institution, Louisiana Public Service Commission, when its entire being had never hired an African-American attorney. She said, I just need you to go apply because the NAACP is preparing to sue. We're going to test the system. Well, I got the job. So I called her and I said, oh, Judge, I got the job. Who's going to take it, right? Because you're making good money over here. She said, you are. Now we can't sue them. So then you can't say we played in their face kind of thing. Worked there for 10, 12 years. Started off on the bottom. I remember the first paycheck that I got there, I cried. Because I was like, wait, is this what I'm going to get paid? You know, Southern paid you monthly. So I didn't realize I get paid twice at that time. But I stayed there. I worked for the first female governor, Governor Kathleen Babineau Blanco, while she was at the Public Service Commission. And she wanted to do some work with the Tax Commission. So another female picking up the phone saying, we need someone to work at the Tax Commission. We don't have a legal division. Can you go over there and start it? Absolutely. Did that jump, that legal thing. We did an excellent job because we totally regulated an area that had never been regulated. We regulated ourselves out of a job. As soon as he got in office, Governor General fired everyone. Dealt with that. But another Black female picked up the phone, Cynthia Bridges, and said, I have space for you. So I go there and run the tax policy section for Louisiana Department of Revenue. All of this is mentoring. Being in spaces, making yourself known, and when you are in certain positions, showing up and showing out. Because that's what allowed these women to pick up phones and advance my career. So wherever you are, be on your best behavior, be your best you. The impression that you want to leave with folk is that you're a hard worker, you're a decent individual, you're not crazy, right? Because it's hard to sort of climb over a reputation that's not a good one. And people don't pick up the phone and invite folk who haven't laid the groundwork for that invitation. So make sure you're doing that. It's going to be easy to be sort of mentored. And then I went into foreign land, not so foreign because I've been in there on the other side of the aisle for years, crafting tax policy. But when I got to the House, it was lonely because we're not there in abundance. And sometimes when you're on a political trail and you are not the chosen one, they would rather have you sit in a space and not assist you navigate your new space. Dr. Carpenter. Okay, I saw her one day. Come here. I don't know you, but I know your husband. Right? Your husband is my boy. I'm going to show you around. And I haven't been at, I'm going into my first real term, third session. I'm vice chair of a committee. I serve on appropriations and I serve on judiciary. Unheard of for someone with the amount of time that I have. But that's because I had a mentor that told me not to get caught up in whether or not they invite you in. Be kind. Walk in. Possess it and allow your resume and allow your character to determine where you go. Thank you, Dr. Carpenter. And she has a good future.
Well, that's what you do. I'm on my way out. I'm in my last term. She's got 2 more terms to go. Yeah, and I don't want her to flood.
Well, I have heard some amazing things from everybody at this table. I've heard everybody talk about all their heroes and their mentors and just everybody that's laid the groundwork. And so for me in this space, I would have to say that everybody that you have said encompasses who my heroes are. They've all touched all of our lives. And it's really, really, really important that we remember that while it's Women's History Month, that we must always remember to advocate for ourselves. And the way that we do that is that we remember who we are. We remember that as women, that we have all that the greatest of any individuals on this earth have had. You have 2 hands, you have 2 eyes, you have 2 feet, and you have a brain to use that God gave you. So you use those and you use them to your best advantage. You use those to change the world, to change the game, and to change the situation for women everywhere. And so that would be my closing inspirational words that I would offer. Is that I just think that everybody needs to remember, don't ever underestimate yourself. Don't ever second guess yourself. You are enough and you are the greatest. You are the best woman that you can be, and you have to walk in that, exercise that every day in all of your actions.
Thank you, Dr. All of our panelists, let's give them another round of applause. We have 2 minutes for questions. Are there any questions for this panel? Anybody got any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not gonna focus on Dr. Parker. That's my best thing. Tell them what we do.
My name is Emma Bradford Perry, and I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Dr. Dean Kite. I am really happy to be here, and I just wanted to say that you all did a fabulous job. A fabulous job. And I learned a lot too, and I just want to say a couple of things. I know that the Beta Psi chapter just went over, and I just want everybody to know I have a niece and a nephew at Southern University. And my niece is the president, the new president of Beta Psi. That's how it works. And then I have a nephew here, Jalen Harrison, and he is in civil engineering, will be graduated in May, and he is the president of the Undergraduate Engineering Association. So I can mention all of them, but and also these young ladies up here, I know you all too, so I'm so proud of you. And I am proud of the library. You all know I used to work over here. Oh, look who's here. Yeah, this is one of my mentees right here.
It's a library.
That's right. As a Gramblinite, she is working at Grambling State University as the Dean of Libraries. So nice to see you. But I just want to say I enjoyed everything, and I'm so happy you invited me. I'll come back another time.
Tell them about friendship, because Emma and I have been friends from day one.
That's right.
And even though she's retired and I'm not, what do we do, Emma, once a month? Lunch. She sets it up, she say, where we going? I said, wherever you say. It's just me and her.
Yeah, and get caught up on everything. It's cusses everybody out.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mary and Dr. Carpenter. Our time has been well spent. Questions?
I don't have a question. I don't have a question, and I'm probably loud enough. A couple of things. Let me just start off by saying that. Father, poor baby side number 25.
But for all those savers up in here, we have a question.
But let me just say something. I've been here 2 days.
when you talk about a friend, started out as my boss, my supervisor.
Yeah.
But has mentored me in library school. And now we are. And Dawn and I speak, Dr.
Please, now.
And I speak at least 6 times a week. Sometimes we call each other with problems, and sometimes we call, did you just look at that email? So in my mind, I'm just laughing because we go through that. And we go through it on different things. But a class walked in, because that many people don't come in at one time. We do know that about in the library, we do know that. But here's the thing. You all as young people, this is important. Young men, these are young ladies up here. These are your peers. Get to know them and support them. But on top of all of that, respect them. And when others don't respect them, be the man you have been called to be and protect them from the disrespect that can happen. I've been working, Jean Perry came in 92. I started working in this library in 92. Dr. Carpenter started working in Southern in 89. I just looked 30. But let me, I felt compelled to say something. Jackie and I have been friends ever, not for just ever. So that's a long time. But this is important to celebrate women and let us shine, empower us. Now, Vanessa over there, representative, she got on Beverly Wade's refrigerator after me. And that's, when you put somebody's picture out on something that for you that come in the kitchen, that's important. That shows love. Meet people in college who will be your friends and love you forever. This is where you make your lifetime. And respect that friendship, respect them as colleagues when you go on. Because at some point, you're going to remember and have that aha moment and go, oh, I know who I can call. Some days I just say, okay, I need to call Dr. Kaufman. I can't find a number, but I need somebody to call her and let her know I sent her something on Facebook, social media. Just call. Find you some people like that, y'all. If you don't get nothing else from me that I said, make sure you are who you want people to be to you. And not just to you, to your children. Just do that. This is a mean world, but you got to have some other people.
First of all, I want to thank the panel. You all are wonderful. Your information is great. And there's not much I can add to it, but it really is wonderful when I can call my former boss and say, we're having this, you want to show up? And she shows up. It means something, and I always tell her how much I appreciate her and thank her for that. It means something to be able to call another dean 3 hours away and say, we're opening this, can you be here? And within 1 or 2 days, she's like, oh yeah, I'm here. And you having something else? Yes, I'll stay for that too. It's also nice to meet somebody who has her own business, and we just connected yesterday, and now she's talking about how she's supporting the library, not only this library, but she'll be able to support libraries all over. It's just wonderful to make the connections. That's so important. But my question though, because I know being a dean, a leader, or whatever, sometimes the pressures get to you. And so it's important to protect the health. Brain drain is real, you know. And so I just want to hear from you, as you, with the ones in college, out, the professionals, what are you doing to protect your mental health as you have taken on these leadership roles?
Well, I take mental health days. I use my sick leave to take mental health days once or twice a month because I also work over Title IX, which is it's a lot. It entails a lot, and so really, when I came from California, so when I worked in California, Los Angeles for a year before I came over to the law center. And it was my time there that really opened my eyes to like all of these ways to engage with diversity, equity, inclusion, right? So mental health and protecting your mental health is part of diversity and inclusion. And I remember talking to people at the law center when I first came over, and I said, "Oh, I take at least 2 days of mental health. I use my sick days, and I need to refresh because I can't give to some of the students what I don't have." And they were like, "What are mental health days?" And I'm like, "I think everyone should realize that you have to take that space and regenerate, regroup and regenerate to be able to give the students what they need." So I'm a big proponent for it. This year, one of the things that I really stressed was mental health awareness at the law center as part of my DEI initiatives and awareness, which goes hand in hand with academic accommodations and all of these things. So I really worked with our faculty. I work with our administration on recognizing the signs of burnout and mental health and being able to take it and not feel weird or feel that it's wrong to take that time for yourself.
So, as a student, how do I take my mental health days? Well, on Mondays I go to Mayberry and I have 2 chicken thighs. No, that's a joke. But, that's a part of it. But no, where I find my mental health days, honestly, it's just like I have like a little pause button in my head. Like for instance, I have certain events that I need to plan. I have assignments to do. Pause. I'll get back to it. Let me go eat before I catch a headache, and let me go take a nice bath, unwind. One thing I've learned about taking care of yourself, sorry, these allergies. One thing I've learned about taking care of myself is that before you can invest in anybody else, you have to invest in yourself. Before I can show up for other students on campus in a leadership position to give them events and give them opportunities and take opportunities myself is by investing in myself, investing in my appearance around campus, investing in my mental health. So that's how.
So I have a little different way of showing myself a little self-care. I like to go do my nails, do my hair and everything, but I also like to also put a pause on everything. On LSU side, they have this like that I like to go sit by. And I'm gonna go sit there. I get a blanket. I'll probably get a book or anything, and I normally sit there for a really long time. It gets me to unwind. The ducks are going all around. It's really nice. I'll go home if I feel the need to just get away from everything. Because leadership positions on campus comes with a lot of comments, a lot of, hey, you need to do this or do this. Like, sometimes we need a break. So when we get to a point where we're just like, okay, enough is enough. Hey, I can't do that right now. It's okay to say no. I had to learn that it is okay to say, hey, I can't do that, but I can give you someone that may can do it. I'll go home when I need my mental break because when I can go home, I'm able to shut the world out and just relax.
Definitely a lot of the things that Gabby just said that I implement as well. Like I said, going back to my mom, I talk to her all the time as my bestie. That is the person that I vent to, and she will listen. She will offer advice, and she'll just be there for me. And I know that it's not going anywhere. And my roommate can attest to this, that I take the longest showers, and really I really just go in there and I just unplug and I just pray and I reflect and I try to just take a moment to just take some time to myself, because a lot does get asked of me, especially in this new position. And so just finding that balance and, like she said, it's okay to say no, or just, I have to put my phone on D&D from time to time and be like, hey, I can't do an email read, I can't do a phone call right now, I just need Ken time. I just need to watch some Scandal for like an hour and then I'll be okay. But it's so important to just take that time for yourself and not feel guilty about it, not feeling guilty about mental health days and not feeling guilty about saying no. I think that's the most important part when trying to maintain your mental health, is just not feeling guilty for taking that break. Because especially as women, and Black women, like we always get made guilty for sitting down and dinner's not ready at a certain time, or you haven't been to this meeting, or you didn't have this conversation. Like, we should not feel guilty for taking a second to just breathe and check in with ourselves. So I think those are the things that I'm learning. And it's important to surround yourself with people that are helping you learn those things as well.
I definitely agree with my fellow student leaders. It is so hard to say no. Definitely being Miss Southern University, you always feel like you're going to miss out on something. You feel like you have to show up every single time. Having to put on the big crown. It's a lot of work to get the crown on and everything. It hurts. It's so heavy. Yes, it's super heavy. It's a lot of work, and no one really talks about that. And you don't really see that when I, show up to certain events. So learning how to say no is something I definitely had to learn in this position. It's my first queen position ever. So it was a lot for me to learn. So also exercising, growing a love for exercising, and basically growing a healthy body, being cautious of the things I put into my body, and just really just having that time to just let it all out with my headphones in the zone and just work out, and also dancing. I'm a dancer, so I love to dance, but I feel like everyone knows about the term strong Black woman. And, we think of it, oh, it's a positive thing, but I honestly think it's a negative thing. I hate that we're always perceived in media to be strong. We can never be sad, we can never be fragile, we can never be vulnerable. But as Black women, we can do that. We can be soft. We can be vulnerable, we can be fragile, we can be emotional. It's okay for us to have our days when we may need a break. We can't always show up for everyone else, because who's going to show up for us? So that's just an idea of mine that I always like to think of, that it's okay for me to take these breaks and have time to myself and put the crown down. So yes, that's how I feel.
So I have a few things to add here, but I do want to also just acknowledge my positionality. I do not have children. So I say this not saying you can't take this advice, but I don't want people to assume like, oh, I got it all figured out, because I don't. So the first thing is yes, all of those things. The other thing I do for self-care is I remember a white man told me this on one of my jobs. He said, Monica, you're gonna be a doctor, but not that kind of doctor. Don't let this bother you. No one is going to die, right? Because you're not somewhere. Now, granted, I was at a lower level leadership position, so no one was gonna die, and the provost wasn't gonna call me. So I'm in a different position now. But the thing that I've learned, and I think it sounds like you all are learning, is figuring out what type of rest and self-care I need. Because sometimes I don't need the manicure, pedicure. That's not what I need. Sometimes I just need a friend, right? Sometimes I just need to unload, or sometimes I need to spend time, I'm a woman of faith, in my word and journaling, right? Because I need some discernment. So I think as you get older and experience leadership, you find out what kind of rest you need. And sometimes when you sleep and you wake up and you're still tired, baby, that's not the kind of rest you need, right? So you got to figure out what that is. And I challenge you to figure that out really, really early. I also challenge you, I talk about friend towards community is critical. Some of the ways I get self-help is I have friends who hold me accountable, saying like, well, Monica, you said in Q1, your goal was to do A, B, and C. Where are you on that? And I'm like, it hasn't happened. Why hasn't it happened? Because I feel more obligated to someone else or something else. And the last thing is know thyself. When you come in a situation, so I took a job in upstate New York that I mentioned earlier, But I took that job for a very particular reason. It was not because I love the snow and the cold. I'm not from there. I took it because it was going to provide a unique opportunity for me. And so when it came time for self-care, I integrated it there. But I knew I was there to hit the ground running, and run real hard, real fast, so I could get out of there. Right? I don't say that I love that job. If I could have picked it up and moved it once it was time for me to transition, I would have. But also know where you are and what you're supposed to do so that you understand what your obligations really are. There will be times where your life is light, enjoy them, but it won't be always.
So a couple ways. One, I meditate every morning and every night. I am a member of the cult of Peloton. So I'm either on the tread, the bike, or whatever else they sold me. I own every instrument that they have. And that helps. It really does. There are some days after session that I run the treadmill just so I can kind of release all of that. And I also, I have a group of friends like Rhonda and Renee, and all I gotta do is right, throw up the hat. I need a night out. I need crawfish, whatever. We're gonna break the bank tonight. We're gonna each get a pound, right? But just having them as friends and keeping me centered, and because we catch flights, not feelings.
And that's what I was gonna say, because that is my total unplug. I get away. I take a trip, and I'm gone for 7 days, and I unplug, and then I return back to life as we know it. But that's the only way you can recharge. You have to go somewhere, get out of your current space, and then you're able to come back and exhale and look at it with a fresh set of eyes, a new perspective, and be excited about the work that you're doing. So.
I rely on my face first, but then on the other end, I take sheer joy and a good frozen daiquiri. No apologies for it. Just me and my strawberry lemonade daiquiri. Not good. But at my age, what is it gonna do to hurt me? I've gone through a lot, as many of you know. My husband passed, who was an administrator here on campus, going on 5 years ago. A year after that, I ended up with breast cancer, totally uncalled for, unexpected. Lost all that long hair. I decided, well, I want a new me. When you go through chemo, radiation, and all that stuff, when my hair ended up bald. So when my hair started growing back, I said, you know what? I'm gonna rock with this, and I like this, just like me. The other thing is, I'm taking care of my special needs daughter, who is high functioning autistic, who runs the house. And so she decides when we need to go and get a pedicure and a manicure, and we do that. So I've learned to step back and do some things that make me good. Like today was a bad day. I've been ripping and running. I had doctor's appointment. I went and grabbed a hamburger and I at Sonic, where I sat in the car and ate it, and I rushed up here. My legislative assistant is saying, Doc, you need to cut back. This is the last event. I said, I got one more. I'm riding in the Easter parade. And then I'm done. But I've learned to do the things that please me. And so that helps me chill out and be me. And I'm good. And I like that.
Thank you, Dr. Carpenter. I do echo the sentiments of all of you ladies. I think that this is a wonderful event. But from a male perspective, I think we have some brothers in the house. Some brothers in the house? Yeah. We value you, we respect you, we appreciate you. I don't think that there's not one lady on this panel, maybe with the exception of you, Ms. Nina, that I don't really know. I know all of you. But I have a question, and it speaks to, you talked about how men don't care so much about children being picked up from the daycare. You all stated that women were problem solvers. Some of that I believe is a little biased. I don't know if the numbers speak to that. But what I will say is this. Given that women are registered to vote at a higher percentage than men across this country, why aren't more women seated at the table in these legislative seats? Okay, I would like, maybe Dr. Carpenter or maybe Dr. Williams can speak to that. Given that women are registered to vote at a much higher percentage than men, why aren't more ladies seated at these tables of making differences?
The first issue, the main, one of the major issues, it's very hard for women to raise money. And it takes money to run for election. And so for some reason, men get more money. For instance, we have lobbyists. Do you know what a lobbyist is? A lobbyist is a person who comes to you to advocate for their interests. For instance, the lobbyist will support you in your efforts. But if a man is running for a position and you're running for a position, by and large, the woman will be given $500. What does the man get, Vanessa? There you go. See the difference? I'm just telling you. So women have to work harder to raise money. That's the first stop. If you don't have the money, it's difficult for you to get in a race because it costs you to buy paper flyers that you see people knocking on doors, ads in newspapers, radio spots, TV spots. It's difficult for women to get that. You know, so that's a part of the problem.
We have to self-finance.
Yeah, we have to self-finance. When I first ran, I had never run for election. I had never run for election before. So I didn't have what they call a war chest, a campaign account, or any of that. So I had to loan myself $10,000 straight out the bat. A man didn't have to do that. You probably had to do the same thing. Yeah.
One of the larger things that a lot of people forget about when they get into that space is that we live in the South. And given that we live in the South, a big part of it also is the patriarchal values that we have down here. Yeah. So a lot of times women do not even think about the elections. They don't think about the outcomes or the results and how it's going to impact their families.
Or that I can do this.
Or that I can, and they don't think that they can put their mindset completely against it. So what happens is the man makes the ballot and gives them the ballot, and whatever he says, they go and vote. And particularly in non-African American households, that's huge. Like they determine how the entire house is going to vote. And if you don't do what that's the women, the children, everybody that's over 18. And if you don't do it, guess what happens? You're cut off. That's true. And so that plays a huge part as to why we don't have more women in, because they're not going to support a woman. They're not going to support a woman. So we have to make our own case, find our own money, and fight our own fight.
Yeah, right.
My question is, what is some advice you would give a female that's pursuing a career in the political field, or a female that's aspiring to lead or run for a leadership role?
Be prepared, be overly prepared for what it is that you want. Map whatever your formal and informal training and education is, so that when it is your turn, you are fully possessed of everything that you need to be an independent thinker, independent voter, in the spaces that you're able to do that. It is real important for us, the PhD over here, practicing attorney over here. We are, or in our colleagues, they can't touch us.
We are more educated
than they are.
than they are.
Always. There's more thought into what we do. We can have conversations that they can't have. They depend upon emotion, we depend upon data, right? There's a difference. But we can't enter that arena inept like they are. So the best advice is to be prepared, to be active in your community, know what that post looks like. Because you also can't just show up and not have put in the time and invested in your community. Because they want to see people that they know, people they've gone to church with, people that have helped them raise funds. They want to see that you didn't need a title to serve.
And the other thing is parlay the skills that you have. You don't have to be a lawyer to be in, for instance, to be in the legislature. You don't have to have a PhD to be in the legislature. You've run houses, homes, so you know economics. You know how to go shop. You know the difference in the cost of a loaf of bread. The average man doesn't. He can't tell you because he don't go to shop. So you use the skill sets that you have and make it work for you. And you work with somebody who can help you get where you're trying to go. It's just that simple. You know, I look around at the people in the House, Louisiana House of Representatives. And what you have, I'm gonna be honest with you, are old white boys with the pickup truck and the rifle in the back, you know, the back rack stuff. That's who you got. And they come from small towns where the daddy was the politician and they own the only grocery store in town. Everybody shopped at the grocery store. Really small little town, but they coming down there making laws. And I look around at them, I said, damn, who are you? That's just the way I feel about it. And I outpace them. Vanessa outpaces them. She out-talks them. So you beat them at the punch. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, but it's what you have to do. And I tell everyone, if you want to get somewhere, you got to outdo them. And don't look back. You go in there, and I say all the time, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So you fight your way and you keep going.
And one thing that I would probably want to add from maybe like a student perspective, like a campus perspective of wanting to be in a leadership role, to be a leader on campus is to ultimately to be of service. The first place to start is to volunteer. I'm sure if you follow SU volunteers. So if you want to start trying to gain leadership roles, you know, volunteer, invest in service, and also it's good to be mostly like diverse. However, I would say don't spread yourself too thin. Find your passion, hone in on your passion. Like for instance, my area of passion is childhood literacy rates. So I enjoy going to the development lab and reading to kids. I know that our council, we like to promote the love of reading. So that's something that we do. So I would say for political science, I definitely know there's some organizations on campus. So I would say service is most important. Get involved serving wise and hone in on your passions.
So don't be afraid to use your connections that when you meet these people, you never know until you ask, because closed mouths don't get fed. You can meet your mentor or whoever to show you these ways to get in these rooms. Sometimes it's about who you know, especially around Southern. it is okay to just say, hey, I need your help. Could you please show me these things? You have a lot of people in these positions, and it's okay to walk up to them and ask the questions. Hey, when can I schedule an appointment with you, or when can we talk about this? You're an SGA, correct? Use your connections in this organization. We are all open to talk to you. If you need any help, just use us. Get involved on campus and do what you have to do. All the people that you meet can put your name in the door before you even step in.
Yes, 10 times the emphasis on everything that's been said. I think a very important thing when going for any leadership position, whether it's on campus, whether it's a political position in the government, is you have to be 100% secure within yourself and who you are personally and professionally. You have to, be confident that your resume speaks for itself. You have to be confident that you have the interpersonal skills to communicate with others. Because communication is like the biggest thing when you're trying to get something done, especially in politics when you have two sides of the table and they don't see eye to eye. And I've learned a lot from my mom because she's like one of the most. She's a lobbyist in Illinois, and she has been able to do both sides of the political parties. And when I tell you, like, Republicans love her, Democrats love her, and the fact that she's able to get so many things pushed and things like that is because she builds these relationships and connections with people, and she's secure in knowing that what she's doing is for the greater good of the state of Illinois. So when you're in these leadership positions on Southern's campus, you have to know that your message and your goal is for the greater good of the student body, for the university. And I had to, again, going back to election week, like I had to be 100% secure in my platform, who I was as a person, what I've done on this campus. And I know that there were a lot of, things that could have gone against me, or people had things to say, I'm not from Louisiana, or because I was a female running for president, or because I wasn't seen enough on this campus. That doesn't mean that I'm not here to do the work. That doesn't mean that I'm not strong enough to be in this leadership position, that I don't have the capacity to do it. So just reiterating, like, just being confident in who you are and knowing that, you have it in the bag. You have to go in there and own that room. You may not know anybody in that room, but you better act like you do.
I'll keep mine brief, but one thing I really want to touch on is the importance of being authentic. So being yourself, and like Cade said, putting your passions into your platforms and into your initiatives. One thing that I realized, because I was able to be a regular student and also be a student leader during my matriculation being at Southern University. And one thing that I realized is that there was always a gap between the student leaders and the student body. I never felt when I was a regular student, at least, that I could reach out to them and I could walk up to them, because maybe it was intimidating, I don't know, but it was just always a gap. So being in this leadership position, I wanted to be able to basically bridge that gap and connect with my student body. So listening to them, for example, during my campaign run, I think one of the critics that said that they didn't understand my platform and they wanted me to touch more on it. They felt that I didn't touch on it. So you know what I did? I got up, got my friend, my campaign manager. We drove out around Southern University and we filmed an entire video in an hour, breaking down every single part of my campaign and what I wanted to do in my platform. And I posted it. So people realized that they liked seeing that video because it was like I listened to it. I didn't just brush it away and act like I didn't see it. I heard it and I did it. So really just listening to your student body, knowing what they want, and considering that and just being yourself.
Thank you. We have had a wonderful time today. I'm glad that you all were able to stay with us. Let's give our panelists a token of appreciation for each of the panelists. And we're going to allow Dr. Robin Merrick, who is the Southern University System Representative today, the Vice President for External Affairs, who was supposed to be a part of this panel, but her duties had taken her away. So we're going to allow her to close us out today.
I just want to give another round of applause to this amazing panel. Please, please, please. I was so incredibly impressed with everything that I've heard, especially from our students and our public servants, as well as our academicians who are on this panel today. And I'm sorry I couldn't join you on the panel. I had to take a vote at a commission meeting over the lunch hour, so I knew I was going to be running a little late getting here. I want to commend the gentlemen who are in the room. Can I just hear a shout out for the men? And you know, we celebrate men all the time, but we're really just celebrating you for being here today to support these women. That's what this is about. So thank you for that. This is the third year that the library has hosted this event. I'm really excited because the first 2 years we did this virtually. So this is the first time I understand that we're doing it in person. And we are hoping to continue this tradition of this event because it's not only Women's History Month across this world, it is also Southern University History Month. So this is one of our SU Founders Month activities that we're doing, and we want to incorporate this and continue to do that. And so Southern is 144 years old, in case you didn't know. And so we are preparing to celebrate 145 on next year. So just mark that date in your calendar, March of 2025. We will be back here. We'll give you the date for this event and all the other events that we will have to celebrate the university's founding. Some really great things I heard in this panel today that I'm super excited about because I want to single out our public officials, our elected officials, Dr. Carpenter, Representative Carpenter, that is, and Representative LaFleur, and the work that they do. But one of the things that Representative LaFleur said was that we advance legislation, even though we know we may not be successful with it, because somebody has got to carry the water. Somebody has got to lift up the argument and put it out there, because if they don't do it, these two ladies and their colleagues that look like them, if they don't do it, who's going to do it? So I commend you all for taking on the fights, even though you know it may not go anywhere, but being on the record, as you said, Representative LaFleur, getting this on the record, because the record is going to matter at some point when we get ready to pull out, as our young people say, is pull out your receipts and you're able to show what has transpired in the state of Louisiana. So again, I commend you all. I commend this panel. I'm so excited for our students, and they know that, because every time I see them on campus, I just get so super excited. I don't get a chance to be around students that much. And Nina, I know you now, so I'll get excited when I see you on campus as well. Yes, and I'm excited about the library, because Dean Kite will tell you that we love the library and all the things that the library is doing. So again, thank you all for our panel, and thank you all for being here. And remember, March 2025, we're celebrating 145 years of Southern University. Thank you so much.
We have some refreshments. You can feel free to serve yourselves. Thank you all for coming today.
And